Okay, now we're going to I believe it's recording number 3, and we are going to start talking about perspective. So your what was nice about the compositing assignments, it gave me an idea as to where you guys are in terms of how well you understand perspective. So we're going to get into understanding perspective from a 1, 2, and a 3-point concept here. Okay, let me kind of give you some examples up here. Let's take a look at 1-point perspective. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to create for me a scene. You're going to create 3 scenes: a 1-point, a 2-point, and a 3-point perspective. Okay, and the rules is that there is always a horizon line. The horizon line represents the height of your camera, essentially. If your horizon line is going to be up high, this means you're going to get more of a bird's view perspective of your scene. All right. If it's down low, you're going to get more of a bug's view perspective of your scene. Okay. And in this example, we're talking about a single point perspective. Now, here's some other examples of single points in terms of a drawing. Let's take a look at that one there, right? Let's take a look at other examples here. Now, I want to share it with you in terms of a concept art piece here. Okay. Okay. Single points perspective, how they're utilized. Okay. Very important. Single point perspective. So we talked about in class earlier today how in order to be creative, creativity really works and only works when there's restrictions. So this is your restriction, is that you're going to work within each of these perspectives. You can't do what you want to do. You must follow the rules of perspective. Okay? And I'm going to start with a single point perspective, and then we're going to graduate to 2-point perspective. Okay? Look at some other examples here. Creating with a single point perspective. There's some wonderful examples. All right. What was that?
Question?
Yeah.
Single point perspective meaning one eye?
No. You're going to find out in one moment. Great question. The question is, what does single point perspective mean? All right. Let's go back to the drawings real quick. Let me answer the question this way. The horizontal line here, in this example, this is your horizon line. The rules is that your perspective or your lines or your edge lines from your buildings or whatever you're using is going to terminate at your vanishing point. In this example, you have a single vanishing point, thus 1-point perspective. Okay. Here's another example of how the single point perspective is used. This is the height of your horizon line. On that horizon line is a single point. All of the lines represented by the cabinets and the furniture all terminate at that single point. Does that make sense? All right. You may have problems with this at first. Okay. So your first assignment is going to be due next week, where we're going to create a single point, a buildings or a skyscraper utilizing a single point, a 2-point, and a 3-point perspective. You're going to have 3 different assignments. You're going to end there next week. After that, you're going to create this assignment utilizing vector shapes in Photoshop. After that, you're going to learn to create the same thing using textures. Okay, so you're going to have a couple of chances. Here's another example from a camera photographic point of view, a single point perspective. Wide angle lenses have a tendency to give you a single point perspective. Okay, all these lines terminate where? Right there. Okay, here's another drawing, a single point perspective from up high. All right, single point perspective coming into the scene, foreground for your horizon. It's going to take you straight into your scene horizontally. Here's another photograph here. Again, another example of a single point perspective. Okay. All right. So how do we create that single point perspective? All right. I'm gonna go into Photoshop. This is where it gets interesting. Working in layers. All eyes up here. You watch this closely. I need my rulers or my guides. I need my rulers to create my guides. Command or Control R gives you your rulers. Now I'm going to create the horizon line. I'm going to grab the horizon line utilizing the guides. Go inside the ruler on the top horizontal edge. Click and hold and drag this down. So I'll take it, say, right about there. Okay. Now I'm going to create my point. The rules are that your points have to, that your point, that all of your lines are going to terminate toward what has to be on the horizon line. So I'm going to accomplish that by creating a vertical guide and say the point's going to be right there. Okay, so now we're going to create our perspective grid. Okay, so I want to create a grid that's going to help me to make sure that everything is going to fall within the rules of this particular single point perspective that I've just created. Everything that I create within this scene has to follow the rules of this single point perspective. And we're going to make a skyscraper here. Skyscraper scene. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go right down here to my vector tools. Right below your T or your text tool. And I want to grab the rectangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the foreground color to medium gray. Start with medium gray. And also the rules of perspective, a single point perspective, is that your vertical edges of your buildings are always going to be completely vertical. They're going to be completely parallel to your right and left side of your frame. Everything else terminates at the perspective. Now let's create the perspective grid. I'm going to come right down here under the vector tools, and I'm going to select Polygon Tool. In the Polygon Tool, look at your options bar on the right hand side. I have sides of 100. I want to make 100 sides to this. I'm going to go to the gear and drop it down. And the last thing I'm going to do, two things I'm going to do, is target star, make sure star is selected, and also make sure the indent size is 99%. Now I'm ready to create my perspective grid. I'm going to zoom down a little bit. You're going to find out why in just a moment. Take my cursor, put it directly on the vanishing point, click and hold, and drag off. There's my perspective grid. Is that making sense? Now, why is that perspective grid important? Because it's going to help you to create within the bounds of the rules of this single point perspective. You can't do what you want to do. You have to follow the rules of perspective. Okay, so if I'm gonna do something else. If I click off here, you can see a kind of a really thin light edges of the line here. What I like to do is work in such a way that oops, let me turn that off, so that I can easily see these lines. So going to the polygon section here, if I highlight it, it goes blue. But I want it to always stay blue no matter what layer I'm working in. If I click off once again, it goes kind of a light black. So I'm going to tell it to stay blue. Double click on the right hand side of this polygon layer, or this vector layer, technically is what it's called, a vector layer. Double click this here, and I'm going to use my layer styles to create what's called a stroke. Right? I'm going to click on the word stroke. The green color was the default color I used from some other time. And over here is the size of the stroke. And you want to make sure that position is outside. If I go on the inside, you'll see nothing. You see something barely happening. So go to the outside. Why? So that you can control the thickness of the stroke. So maybe what we'll do is we'll go 1 point thickness and target OK, so that when I click off, that green is always there. And I'm going to also grab the black arrow tool right up here above it. This is for moving your vector shapes around. The direct path tool, make sure I'm in the right layer, and move it down so that's dead center on that vanishing point there, or approximately there. All right, I have my vector shape. So I'm going to put this in a group, Command or Control G. Okay, this is going to be my perspective grid. Okay, and what I'm going to do, pull these down because I'm going to have several layers opening up here. And I'm going to also bring the opacity of that group down, so it's easier for me to work. Now let's start creating our building. Okay. Anything above your horizon line, it's going to give you, your bug's eye view. Anything below, it's going to give you a bird's eye view. So let's create below this horizon line, or I can create right on it. It doesn't matter. Okay. So let's what I like to do is basically create a simple shape, simple rectangular shape. I'm going to go right down here to my vector shapes and grab the rectangle tool. All right, so I want to stop here. So what I would like you guys to do is to create a 7-inch by 5-inch file at 200 pixels per inch, and create your perspective grid utilizing your Polygon tool here. Making sure, once again, your sides are 100, and you hit the gear symbol, and your star is selected, and 99% is placed in indent sides. Resume. All right, now let's start making some buildings. Perspective, that's 100% there. I'm going to bring down a little bit more, bring that down a little bit. There we go. Something like a little light so I can see it, see my objects easier. Now, here's the trick. Your perspective grid group should always go on top. Everybody, so whatever you're doing right now, stop doing what you're doing and watch me. Your perspective grid group always goes on top. Okay, so we can see what we're doing. So I'm going to make my first grid. Click this here, go to my rectangular vector tool. Medium gray is my foreground, it's my color. I recommend that. And I'm going to just draw the front face of my building. Okay? The faces of your building are always going to be parallel horizontally or vertically to the edges of your frame. The sides of the building are going to terminate at the vanishing point. All right, I just created the front face of my building. Let's go create the side of the building. I'm going to grab another shape, click and drag it. I'll put it right next to this one because the two corners are going to line up. And what I'm going to do is change the color. I'm going to establish the front building is going to be brighter. The sides of the buildings are going to be darker. So I'm going to double click on this vector shape right there. Double click it. It brings up my color. I can change it to whatever color I want. I'm going to change it to like kind of a darker gray, like so. And click OK. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab just diagonal from it. This is your path selection tool. So this one selects the entire shape and moves it around. And I'm going to just place it right next to the other one like so. What I want to do is I want to adjust each point individually. Here. So I'm going to go click and drag around that corner and it's going to select my point. Let's get in closer. I'm going to select both of these points here. And I'm going to use my arrow keys and just nudge it with the arrow keys right up there. Now, I want this edge of the building to flow with this perspective line. You can't do what you want to do. You have to follow the rules of perspective. Select this point here, hit my arrow keys, yes, don't show me again, and go down to follow this perspective line. And it has to be, for all intents and purposes, parallel to this line. Now when I go down to the bottom, I'm going to select both of these here, line them up. I'll get in a little closer. Line them up, hit the arrow key. Now it's together. And I'm going to get it to follow what line? Well, that green, the one right next to this point here, right? It's going to be parallel to this line. So select it. Remember, the edges have to be vertical. So I hit the arrow up. I got to go over here and select my point first. Hit the arrow up until that line flows with that green. There. Command 0. Let's say I want the side of this wall to be shorter. All right. Let's bring it closer to me. Something like this. What do I need to do? Can't hear you.
Select the 2 points.
Yeah. Let's bring it back. Bring it in closer. Select this point first. Straight up. Arrow key going straight up to match that perspective line. Space bar gives me my hand. Move it down. Select this point. Go straight down. See? Is that making sense? So let's make another building on the right hand side here. Now look at these two here. These two layers make up that one building, right? Select both of those layers, Command G, and call it Building 1. Let's make another building. What I could do is make another group. I can actually select it there, make another group automatically, and then come over here to my rectangular tool And we're going to make a shorter building that's going to go actually behind this one. So I'm going to go grab this here. Shorter building. And I'm going to grab this point. Pull these on over. I'm being a little slow about it, so what I'll do is I'll just grab it and just manually pull it here. Like this. Okay? And what I'm going to do is, this is going to be just slightly back as if there's a sidewalk that's going to be passing to the front here. Now I'm going to go and grab another rectangular tool, place it down next to the other one. That one's going to be the one that's going to go toward the back. And I want to change the color of this one. Double click it, and we'll make this a little darker. Now, say for example, I want to match the other one, other darker side here. Double click it. It gives you the eyedropper automatically. Click it right on that one right there. Now you've matched it. Huh? Oh. Okay. Okay. Click OK. Now let's bring them together. Get in closer. Go to the black arrow tool. We'll target everything. Put them together. Go to the white arrow tool. We'll target several individual points or multiple points. Nudge those down. And now we need to match perspective. Now notice that this building is a little bit below the other. So I'm going to go grab this here. And we're going to match the perspective line that this is going to, and that will be this one here. Let's go to the one on the bottom, select it, and match perspective. There we go. All right, here's where it gets interesting. As you get below the horizon line, you're going to see some of that roof. It's going to be kind of tight up there, but you're going to see some of the roof. We're going to make that roof kind of a lighter gray. So I'm going to go over here, grab my rectangular tool, select it. I'm going to make it like yay big. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to choose a brighter gray like so. Now I'm going to follow the rules of perspective. Grab this point. I'm going to select this point here. Following the rules of perspective. Now this has got to connect to this side of the roof. Now this here has to follow what? Yeah. It's going to be tight up there, but that has to follow that perspective line.
That's off, yeah.
That's a little bit off. Well, not really. This is going to be completely horizontal, right? That's about right. And this one's following the green line. And the reason why it looks this way is because the closer you get to the horizon line, the flatter it becomes, the straighter it becomes.
Should the back corner be a little higher?
Back corner might be a little higher. Let's go ahead and grab it. We can bring it just, oops, sorry, wrong one. Grab that one. Not much. See, this has to be completely horizontal. There. This one has to match the green line, so it's correct. And I'm going to prove that further. We're going to go further away from this horizon line. We're going to start building right down here in the bottom. Grab another rectangular tool. This building is going to come right down here, sit right there at the bottom. That's going to be the front face. I'm going to make sure, now this, I want to make this into another group, by the way. So let's go grab these three, Command G group, okay? And call this one building.
It's not typing yet.
Oh, it isn't?
Cardboard houses.
Okay. Building 2. And I'm going to take that and just take it out of this. Okay, there we go. Got building 1, building 2. Group 2, we're going to call this one building 3. Okay. All right, and I want building 3 to be on top because I want it in front of this one. All right, need to match the lighting, right? So double click on the vector shape, simply target that color there, and click OK. All right, now let's go get the sides. Let's go start with the left-hand side for this one. Go grab another rectangle. Oops, sorry. Click and drag. Okay. Double click it. Match the lighting of the other buildings here. Go to your path tool, and I'm going to kind of match. Okay, let's go get in closer. Now, click and hold on the black arrow. Go to the white arrow, will manipulate individual points. The black arrow is going to move the entire object as one piece, only. Not everybody's watching me here. Take your eyes off your phone, please. Not you, her. Okay, so I'm moving it up. Grab this one here, move it up. Now let's match this perspective here. Grab these two and grab the center, and I can move it up like so. We'll make it up, keep the wall that long. I can make the wall longer if I want to. I can say, okay, I want this to be a really long wall. Select the points there. Move it up to match that perspective line. You must follow the rules of perspective. Notice that the roof, where the roof's going to go, notice how much wider it is now? Now notice how this one's not wider, it's really thin, because you're getting closer to the horizon line. Anything that gets closer to the horizon line, the closer to the horizon line you get, the shape will become a line, completely flat. The further away you get, the shape fills out. So now when I go to my tool again, I'm going to make a quick little square like so, and give it the same color as, or the same tone as the top of this other roof here. Double click it, tap on the top of that roof, there. Now go to the white arrow tool. We will get in close. Select this point. Select this point. Space bar and move it over. Select that point by clicking and dragging a rectangle selection over it. All right, so this is where you're going to get confused. All right, this line here has to be completely horizontal to the top edge of your screen. This line here must match perspective. So if I'm not sure about this line, bring a guide down, measure it. Oop, it's off. So bring it back it must be horizontal, while this matches the edge of the screen. Hit the V key, grab the line, take it off. Is that making sense? Okay. See? And every building is in its own group. 3. See? See? Every building is in its own group. Okay. So what you're going to do is, for homework eventually, I don't want you to add textures to these. I just want you to build the buildings and build windows inside the buildings. Okay. So if you want to look at, cityscapes. Cityscape, 1-point perspective. See, you have any photographic. Look at, get ideas how other people have created theirs. The assignment's going to require that you have 10 buildings for all three, for 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point perspective.
Okay, but you had three rows, 2 rows.
Well, I want you to have a minimum of 10 buildings. So this is 1, 2, and 3.
Is it all the same picture?
What do you mean it's all the same picture?
Like, do you want us to create the same environment?
I want 10 buildings in one environment.
Okay.
So here's a trick. We're going to put some windows in this building. Okay. So I'll make another group. In fact, we'll make it inside building 1. So we're going to go inside building 1. Okay. And I'm going to go to my selection tool and make some windows. So I want a nice contrast, so I want white windows. And if I duplicate the layer, Command J, and I think we can do with the move tool also. We can move this on over like so. And Alt, Shift, duplicates and constrains it like so.
Well, if that's for doing this, can you just press do the brush and do like shift press?
We're not using a brush.
Okay.
I'm using vector shapes. I want vector shapes, not brushes. I will select all 3 of these, Command T to kind of fit them inside. Okay. Now I will bring it down. So what I will do is I will right click, merge the shapes together. Now it's in 1. Alt, duplicates, Shift constrains it down. Duplicate, down, duplicate, oops, sorry. And down. And if I grab those, right click, merge shapes. Now do it again. Alt, duplicates, Shift, constrains it. One more, duplicate, done. Merge them. It's a fast process. See, those are your windows. They need to match perspective, right? I think they're matching perspective here, but let's go on the side, right? The front face is fine, okay? What about the side face? Control Alt, drag it to the side.
Negative.
It's the background is white. Let me actually change the background to a different color. Let's change it to black. Solid color. See, using a yeah, we could do a different color. We can do kind of like a that's easier to see. Now, Command or Control T. Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. Sorry. There we go. So that one, that's good. Okay. Command or Control T. Line it up on the inside. No, I did not. I just hit Command or Control T for free transform the object. Did not use the selection tool. Hold the Command or Control key down is the shortcut for distort. Bring it straight down. See? Go to the bottom. Match perspective. Bring it straight up until this matches perspective. If I want to actually pull that up to match the other bottom one there you go. Is that making sense? Okay, so I'll show you one more little trick to give you some depth inside the windows. Okay. If I'm going to target both of these layers. No, I don't want them both targeted. I want to keep them separate. Because here, we're going to see the window sill on the left-hand side. Here, we're going to see the window sill more from the right-hand side. So, we'll start with this one first. If I double-click on the right-hand side, there's an option in here called Inner Shadow. If I click Inner Shadow, you can see some shadows happening in here. If I tell it to go real strong, like that, and then I also tell it not to mess with I want the edge to be harsher, like this. If I click and drag here, I can move it around. If I bring it closer, it looks like the edge. If you want to see a little bit better what I'm talking about, see, that's what I'm doing. Okay, but I can go to something like a little bit of a deeper black here. I can do the same thing on the other side. Go to that layer. See that inner shadow option I had here? Hold the Alt key down, drag it on top of this one. Now it applies it to this one. Double click on inner shadow. And I want to take off the use of global light, because that means when you adjust this layer, all the other layers adjust the same way. All the other effects layers. So I'm going to turn it off so it's independent. And if it's independent, now I can come over here and drag it, and now I can see this side of the wall. It gives it a sense of depth in there. That's basically what I want you to have for your assignment. But I want a minimum of 10 buildings. And in addition, I want you to integrate streets in here somehow. Streets, like you drive on. I want you to integrate streets. So how do you get inspired by this or get ideas? You know where to go. Go to Google. Look, streets. 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 All right, we're gonna have streets in there. Okay, so how about if I give you 30 minutes to work on a single point perspective, and I'll show you the 2-point and 3-point right after. Okay? All right, someone just asked me a question. Well, what if you want to work with those cylinders and spheres inside here? They work no different than a rectangle. You think of a circle is a rectangle with curves. Everybody watching? What? She does not watch. All right. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just simply take a selection, make a square. All right, and I'm gonna make a new layer on there. Okay. I'm gonna fill that square. I'm not really gonna fill a square. I guess I could fill a square, couldn't I? How about this? How about if we just edit, fill, and fill it with not a pattern, but with black. All right, now let's go to our circle, and I'm going to make it a perfect circle, holding the Shift and Alt key. That should fit right inside there approximately. Okay, and I'm going to fill that with white. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that one. So let's go ahead and make this a smart object. So it's the same. The way you deal with circles is exactly the way you deal with rectangles. That's all the rectangle is curved edges. Instead of harsh corners, no linear corners, what you have are curved edges for each corner. So if it was going to be on this wall, for example, on the side of this wall here, and that was going to be a cylinder shape, right? Command T, and that's how circles will look. So again, you're following perspective. If I gave this a blend mode of lighten, you only get to see the circle on there. Okay, so circles work the exact same way as rectangles. Okay, if we extrude circle out, then we're dealing with like gradients, but we'll get into that later. For your homework assignment, I prefer that you not use circles, just use rectangles. For now, let's keep it simple for now. And you can get as sophisticated as you want. Minimum of 10 buildings. I want freeways or streets included. But you can make it as sophisticated if you like. But use rectangle linear shapes. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick example of a one-point perspective that I did during my Adobe Twitch presentation. Let me go over to my Behance site, which everybody has. Okay, here's my site. Here is, I think it's here.
I think I saw it was the pink and green.
Hold on a minute. There we go. We got to go this way. It's in here. That's odd. I know it's in here. I know it was in this one. I know it was there. Okay, fine. Let's go to another category. There. That one there. That was a 1-point perspective I was doing as an exercise on Adobe Twitch. Everything's following a single 1 point. So kind of give an example that, yeah, you can create this way. Those are the limitations that you have that your creativity is going to allow you to flourish within. Those are the rules you got to follow. Stick to those rules. You can't go out of them. Now, I want to talk about 2-point perspective. Same rules as 1-point perspective, except you have 2 points, 2 vanishing points. One for the left-hand side and one for the right-hand side. And let's take a look at these here. Standard elevation map concept, right? 2-point perspective. And again, for your assignment, I'm going to want to have streets in it, proper shading. I don't want a lot of detail. Right? 2-point perspective. There's your horizon line, 1 point there and 1 point there. All of your edges on the right and left hand side terminates at the vanishing point. Their vectors terminate at the vanishing point. Okay? Let's look at this one here. Same thing. Vector over here, vanishing point way over here somewhere. They all terminate at that vanishing point. Okay? 2-point perspective concept art. Okay? Right? So these are the restrictions we're putting on ourselves. 2-point perspective. 1 vanishing point here, 1 vanishing point there. Okay.
Is there bounds to how far you stretch out your 2 points in one?
Ah, that's a good point. That's a good question. Let's find out what happens. So this one is really more of a single point perspective, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. There's a 2-point perspective. One way back here where these lines terminate, and one way over here where those lines terminate. Okay. I think you'll find a 2-point perspective easier than a single point perspective. Here's a 2-point perspective of the city with streets and all of that, which you need to have included in your assignment. If you get confused, go online and get ideas from other artists. Don't try to figure it out yourself. Okay? Here's a starting point. You can see some starting points, exactly what you guys are going to create, but you're going to create using vector shapes. I want them in vector shapes. See how stairs work here? 2-point perspective. Those are the rules. Horizon line. Okay, so let's actually go create in Photoshop. Yes, let's go make a new file. Command and Control N. Okay, 7 by 5. There we go. Let's go get a vanishing point, not vanishing, but a horizon line. I'll grab this one here. And we're going to create 2 points. Now, watch what happens here. If I take vanishing points and bring them way inside or pretty close to the document bounds, watch what happens. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen, then I'll show you. The closer you are to the document bounds, the closer to an extreme wide-angle lens you're going to replicate. The further away you are from the document bounds that your vanishing points are, the more of a telephoto lens that you're replicating. So if I grab, let's go get my rectangle here, and I'm going to make a medium gray. Start off with, okay. I need 2 perspective grids. Once you create your perspective grids lines for your polygon, it'll always be there. So where are my points? One here and one here, right? Click and hold and drag it all the way across. Double click on the right hand side. Give it that stroke technique. This one's black by default. Let me see what the other one is. That's green by default. That looks good. I'm going to keep it there. Okay. Now, duplicate this layer. Command J. Hit the V key for the move tool and move that one on the other one, right about there. Change the color of the stroke on this one to be a different color. I'll choose red. Right. It helps you to kind of keep track. Select both layers. Command G for group. Right. Bring down the opacity of those two. Make a background color. I like to go to my adjustment layer, solid color, and you can change it if you want. It makes it easier to see things. Okay. And now I will be working underneath the perspective grid. This is important. Some of you are going to forget about the grid being on top, and your perspective is going to be messed up because you don't have your grid on top to trace. So I can rename this group 2-point grid. And I'm going to go over here to rectangle. Okay. And I'm going to start with one side. Bring this on over. I think I'll start with the right side of this shape. It's getting close. Now, if it helps you, you can turn off your left side of the grid. There, like so. And we're going to do the right side. So, come over here, get the direct selection point, grab this, or I can grab these two. And let's say, bring the wall to here, take that one to there, bring this one straight on down. Holding the shift key will well, I guess I can just bring it straight on down. Oops, I got both of them selected. Here, all right, come on. There we go. So bring it. I'm using the down arrow key, the match perspective here. Actually, let me bring it down this way. Yeah, that's right. Now that one's done. Your edges are vertical. Right side is flowing to the right. Okay. Now I'm going to go and turn on the other grid and do the other side. And I think I'll make this side lighter. Double click it. And I highly recommend you change these colors immediately so it makes it easier to see what's going on. Getting closer, I will go get the white arrow tool, select these 2 points by drawing over them, and just nudge them down to match the corner of the other shape. Go grab these two down here, select over them. There we go. And now we follow what color? The green. That's right. We follow the green. So turn off the red if it helps you. And I'm going to flow with the green. There. Come over to here. Grab this one. Flow with which green? That one there, right? Bring it straight on down. And I'm just using the down arrow key just to make it easier, or just easier for you guys to track. Normally I'll just pull it down, no, just manually. Okay, you see that shape? See how distorted that shape is? That's because your vanishing points are inside the document bounds. It's resembling like a fisheye lens or a wide-angle lens, right? All right, so let's do one for a telephoto lens. Okay, so watch. I got a 2-point groups here, so I'm going to make another group, and I'm going to turn off that one. Okay, and I'm going to make the building on the right, just to the right side of this. I will duplicate this group here, the 2-point group. So I'm going to call it 2-point grid telephoto. Drop it open. Okay, hit my V key, and I'm going to take my vanishing points way out here. Okay, take this one, grab the proper layer. It will be easier if you do this. I'll tell you why. Go grab your black arrow tool, because it'll highlight the shape so you can see it in the document. If you use the move tool, it won't give you the entire shape to view. That way, there's no confusing where you should be. There, right? You know what I would do? Well, I'll tell you what. We'll just do it this way. Now, Command T for free transform, and just drag this. Hold the Alt key, which allows you to resize from the center, and that'll pull. Wait a minute. It should have. It's distorting. It should not have distorted. No, that's distorting.
You're holding shift?
I'm not holding anything. I mean, free transform. It should not distort, right? New version of Photoshop. Okay, so I'll hold Alt and Shift together this time. There we go. I'm just bringing it past the document bounds, okay? That's all I'm doing. Now let's go get the other one. Hit Enter key. Let's go grab this one. V key, I got to take this way out here. Hit the A key, goes to the black arrow, bring it to here, dead center, Command T, Alt and Shift, bring that past there like that. Noticing a difference already? You're getting a lot more gaps in here. See that? Now let's make our buildings. Let's go to the right side. Rectangle. Okay. And oops, I put that inside the perspective grid folder. I'm going to take that. Where are we? 2-point grid telephoto. I'm going to take it underneath. There. Okay. Now I'm going to give it the same color as this one here. So double click right there on the icon. Select that color. It worked. All right. Now I'm going to mess with the perspective here. So come over to the white arrow tool. Okay. Select this shape. Pull it down. Matches the red. Go over to the. This looks pretty. Well, this one can come down. Bring it down just a teensy bit there. Now go get the other shape. Okay. And I'm going to double click that and target that color there. Okay. And bring this on in closer. Just going to kind of match them up there. Go get the white arrow tool so I can select these points individually. Line them up. Get in closer. What lines am I following now?
The red one?
The green ones. That's right. That's pretty close. Let me actually grab these two on the side. There we go. Now we go to grab this one and bring it down. Okay? Because this is so close to the horizon line, right? We are let me bring this one down a little more. Yeah. It's getting flat, right? If you look at the shape, is that distorted like the other one? Right. That's because it's our telephoto. That's our the other one is a wide angle. Okay. So one's wide angle here, the other one's telephoto there. Mm-hmm. I'm building inside with 50% opacity, so here, let me just grab these two and give it a group. There you go. Sorry about that. Is that making sense? All right, so for homework, I want one file of a single point and another file of a 2-point perspective. Both of them have to have a minimum of 10 buildings with windows and with streets. Go for it. Well, we're done for class now, but
Due Wednesday or Monday?
it is due on next Wednesday.
You're going to write the assignment?
I will. It'll be due next Wednesday. I'll give you Monday in class to complete it so I can work with you. But also on Monday, I want to show you how to create textured buildings. That's going to be due the following week. So you're going to do the same thing, but this time you're going to use photographic images. Okay? Cool. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed class, and I'll see you guys on Monday.